It is from numberless diverse acts of courage and belief that human history is shaped. Each time a man stands up for an ideal, or acts to improve the lot of others, or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope. And crossing each other from a million different centers of energy, and daring those ripples, to build a current which can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance. Robert Kennedy gave this speech at Cape Town University in South Africa in 1966. Although these words were spoken 47 years ago, there is a tremendous relevance that sparks comparison to the world my classmates and I live in today. Entering the doors of GBN, my classmates and I were already being exposed to global issues full of courage and change. 8 months prior to starting our first classes at Glenbrook North, Barack Obama, the first African-American president, was sworn into office. It was a momentous time in our country. The slogan, "Yes, we can," gave inspiration and promise to people from all walks of life and demonstrated significant growth for our society. Like Robert Kennedy's speech alludes, this marked the beginning of an exciting time where the current of change swept people up with the promise of a better world. It began a chain reaction of human rights successes that defined our teenage years as a time of hope. Politics aside, there was not too much hope for us as freshmen. There were a lot of rules that came with being a freshman, and we were quick to learn what they were. We weren't allowed in the sack, trays in the cafeteria were an embarrassment waiting to happen, and we had to sit in the back bleachers of all assemblies and sporting events. However, we didn't let those trademark moments define who we were as a class. I truly believe at the time, many of us recognized that we were a closely knit group of motivated and invested students. We had people involved in all parts of the GBN spectrum. Look around. We had nationally recognized athletes, talented artists, state-winning debaters, DECA champions, speech team winners, social service pioneers, literary geniuses, and music prodigies. One might believe that because of the various groups of people, we would have segregated ourselves from each other to create that typical high school experience. But no breakfast club here. In fact, it was the farthest thing from the truth. Over these past 4 years, we've embraced the rich diversity that Glenbrook North has offered us and created a strong bond through those differences. Our musical that year was Rent, and there was no better example than the message it portrayed: to love everyone and accept everyone as an equal. As freshmen, this class instinctively knew that we were stronger as a group than individuals. I knew that I was in the right place, and I was confident that I would feel happy and comfortable walking through the halls of GBN. As time went by and the silliness of freshman year became a memory, we entered our sophomore year feeling a little more confident and a little more experienced. We all felt cool because we weren't freshmen any longer, but we still had that underclassman title. The SAC, to our dismay, was still off boundaries. But this was the year that things became more real, the understanding that our future depended on the decisions we made every day. People say that sophomore year is the year of nothing. Stuck in the middle of the immature freshmen, the exhausted juniors, and the overwhelmed and excited seniors, sophomores just can't really find their place. However, with our class, I really believe sophomore year was one of the most important years for all of us. We began to find our niche, discover who we were, and became more comfortable with who we were as individuals. Getting brave to stand up for what we believed in. Throwing pebbles in that pond to create our ripple of change. Our class broadened our horizons and became more involved in numerous clubs and organizations. We were becoming more mature and began to realize that just outside the safety of Northbrook, world events like the Times Square bomber and the BP oil spill impacted our lives and the world around us. President Obama began withdrawing troops from Iraq and more soldiers returned home. We saw firsthand why we must savor the moments we had together. After all, at the end of that year, we would already be done with 50% of our high school experience. In every scary horror movie, there is that soft, creepy Jaws music that starts speeding up and getting louder and louder until something pops out at you. That was exactly what was going through everyone's mind before entering the halls of our junior year. As if the PSAEs and plan tests weren't awful enough, this year brought stress and anxiety to a new level. This was the year. Our parents warned us, our teachers lectured us, our counselors reminded us, and we heard them loud and clear. Junior year was it. It was the big show, and you better bring it. Junior year meant endless homework, ACT, SAT prep, the US Constitution test, and the English research papers. Oh, and how could I forget? Finding the fit, for those who actually did the packet. And even then, we all kind of knew that there might not even be a perfect fit, right? But putting that aside, junior year was definitely one to remember. We were finally able to enter the SAC. We were upperclassmen, and we took our new status very seriously. It was our responsibility to set the example and lead the way, setting the standard for what it meant to be a Spartan, and to live up to those expectations. Putting others first and cheering on each other's successes. We cheered on the volleyball team as they went to the state championship. We rooted for the contest play of mice and men that tied second place throughout the entire state. And we cheered on for the students who won first place at the International DECA competition. What a wide variety of talented, motivated, and interesting classmates. These are the behaviors that set our class apart from the others before us. We supported one another to make each other better. There were also important events happening worldwide that would impact us emotionally. Congresswoman Gabby Giffords was critically injured during an assassination attempt. Osama bin Laden was killed at his compound in Pakistan. Steve Jobs had passed away. And of course, the royal wedding. But taking note of these events and responding to them was an interesting time for us. We were old enough to understand the significance of these events, each ripple sending a message to the world. It also became clear to those who truly loved GBN that we needed to start taking advantage of the time we had left here. We started expanding new friendships and creating bonds with people we hadn't been friends with before. Leaving GBN as juniors, we were all charged with excitement. We had completed the most challenging of our 4 years. But over the summer of 2012, we tragically lost 3 wonderful friends, 2 of whom would have been sitting here with us today. The devastation to our community and our school was overwhelming, and parents struggled with how to explain such sad news. Our priests, rabbis, and teachers offered support, and we relied on each other to mourn the loss of friends we had loved and laughed with. We were all fighting for the happiness that we believed our community deserved, and we couldn't figure out how we had lost our way. Together, we relied on each other and reached out to friends who had been impacted the most. And in the most unusual of circumstances, those ripples of hope started to expand further and further. People were coming together. People were treating others with kindness and respect. And people started to love each other out loud. People started to love each other out loud. There were hundreds of bracelets handed out with compassion written on them. People were walking for those who had left us. People were standing up for the voices that these boys no longer possessed. We came together stronger and more connected than ever before. And even after such a display of emotional strength, we suffered a loss once more. Right when we all thought as a class, as a school, and as a community that things were turning around, we were all caught by surprise. But this time the feeling was different. Was it wrong that we were all suddenly becoming accustomed to this feeling of loss? This grief? It didn't matter. It didn't matter because we kept on fighting for the rights of everyone. We kept on loving each other, regardless of race, gender, or sexual orientation. With our teachers, administrators, and friends, we kept on being a family. We are Spartans. It is what we do. Strength, courage, determination, fearlessness, character, integrity. It is what we stand for and how we honor those we have loved and lost. The students that sit here today are inspiring, gifted, and wonderful people. They are filled with talent, compassion, selflessness, and poise. Over the past 4 years, we have grown from young teens to adults, experiencing life lessons that have impacted all of us. Moving forward and searching out our own destinies will be defined by the moments we had together here at GBN. This school has shaped who we are. We will never sit together as a class again after today, but we will remember what it felt like to walk through the hallways during a crowded passing period, or to look across the cafeteria for a familiar face. We'll remember the smell of football games, Friday night lights, and the marching band giving it their all. We will remember down to the river, the feel of a snow day, and getting a good grade that you deserved. We will remember having a hard day and looking up to see your best friend and knowing that he or she was going to make it okay by just being there. This school has taught us what it means to be ourselves and to love who we are. And although we are all going in different directions and pursuing countless numbers of different things, together, we make up all of those ripples of hope that will build a current which will sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance. Our future will be filled with the dreams and passions of what is to come. Congratulations, class of 2013. We did it.